Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick and mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I am passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you were meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Inspire and Move. I am your host, Ali Aruda. Thank you so much for being here, and I feel like I'm really enjoying starting my episodes with gratitude. Thank you so much for listening to my new show. It's just a fresh little baby of a show. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening and sharing, whether it's sharing on your socials, sharing it with a friend or a family member. Thank you so much. I am really grateful for all of you, and I'm super excited to be here. So today's episode is all about when opportunity knocks. And I've actually always been a big advocate for this topic, this notion. And I was reflecting on this just a few days ago as my husband had a really cool opportunity come his way just a few weeks ago. And it just inspired me to add that to the episode queue and something that I would really love to talk about. So what we're going to dive into is the joy of when opportunity knocks and how that might come with an initial shock of what that initial emotion is, but that it can also turn into joy and growth. So I'm going to actually share a couple of personal examples and sort of riff on those, because I love to riff and there might be some tangents, and also wanted to see how this could maybe apply in your life right now, because I want to be real and authentic with you guys. And I'm excited to talk about what has happened in my life, either recently or years back, where we've really leaned into this opportunity knocking on the door. But also maybe you're in a bit of a flux right now for something that's either just come your way or you're feeling like might come your way, or it hasn't even come yet, but you're going to have these tools and these ideas in mind of how to maybe navigate it moving forward if opportunity comes knocking. And I would totally knock on my desk right now, but my dogs are being really quiet and just calm. So we're going to X-nay on the knocking, but insert knock sound here. All right. So one of the first personal examples, and it's not really opportunity, but it was more of the happens when you least expect it. And this example is probably the only one. The other ones are much more opportunity driven. But Matt, my husband, I had previously ended an engagement and I had vowed that I was absolutely going to be single for a year. I don't want to date. I don't want to be with a guy. I don't need no man. I'm going to do this all by myself. And I swear it was like a matter of weeks. And then Matt and I know we kind of talked about this in our first episode together, and this isn't a Matt and Allie love story episode, but just to provide some context as to how I was not expecting to have this amazing man come into my life. And though we were in the same orbit, we worked for the same company, I by no means saw the relationship that we have now flourish. And it did. And I am so glad. I resisted it for a while, and then just because I was trying to be aligned with what I had vowed to myself, that for 1 year, no dating. But I had no reason to stay the course on that, because this guy was incredible. And here we are now. So that's just kind of more of a happens when you least expect it. But I was making my notes before I hopped on here to record this and thought, added a little note at the top, I should write about Matt. So I wanted to include Matt as well, because my gosh, what a joy that was. So moving on to some of my other examples, that our house, when Matt and I decided to move in together, I had moved into his home, but was really adamant how I would really like to get a place together, that I want to contribute 50-50 in terms of the mortgage. And that would really meant a lot to me. And so we had sort of set our sights on one area that we wanted to live in. And then we looked at the property taxes in those areas, and we're like, oh, maybe we'll just look a little bit more west of where we want to be. And Matt ended up finding the home that we live in now way sooner than we were planning. Like, we just wanted to start dreaming and, where would we love to be? We wanted to be able to be walkable to a downtown core. And we had our kind of dreams set out and eyes very much open, but we're also trying to be realistic that this would be at least a year away. Sure enough, Matt finds this house on this real estate website, and it's beautiful, like nice color. We go visit it and drive downtown and realize, like, oh, that's really quite close. Let's park and walk downtown. Oh, it's walkable. And then there's a gym. Now just pause. There's a gym. Just salvage that in your mind because we're going to touch on that next. And so then we come to the open house. We fall in love with the home. The price was actually, this is years ago before the pricing where we are now kind of went whoop, off the charts. But everything was sort of checking off these boxes. And we thought, okay, well, this wasn't really our plan. We weren't really looking to buy a home together right now. I was traditional and I was hoping that we would have been engaged first and then we'd get a house and then we'd get married and then we'd have our honeymoon. You know, the traditional rollout of how people operate or they used to. But now I feel like you make your own rules. You do whatever you want. And it's kind of exciting to see that evolution. But we dove in head first. Opportunity came knocking. Here's this beautiful home in a nice area that's walkable to downtown or walkable to the water. And it really checked off all of our boxes. And even still, I tell this story and I'm talking to you guys or, you guys, but really in my office by myself, that this was not part of our plan. And that's the interesting thing about plans. We can make all these plans that we want. And at the end of the day, something like a tidal wave could come crashing over and throw those plans right into the deep end, and you start from scratch, or you pivot, or you reimagine, or you adjust. And this was one of those things that wasn't really what we planned, but why not? So let's jump. And we did. And I'm so happy to be here. So now, next example. Do you remember that little nugget about the house that we're in being walkable to a gym? Yep, you got that right. If you know me, you've been listening, or you follow me on Instagram, you might know that Matt and I own a gym, Benchmark Fitness. It's in downtown Burlington, Ontario, and it is, yes, walking distance from our home, because that is the gym that we found in downtown Burlington when we were looking at this home and thought, wow, that looks like a really nice gym. What a great location. So we joined the gym. We actually joined that gym, our gym, before we even moved into our home, and loved that we could walk there for a workout, go around the corner to the local coffee shop, get a coffee, and more businesses would start opening that, I could get my nails done, I could get a blowout. And now we have this really awesome community in downtown Burlington with all these businesses that we can walk to and are now around the corner from our gym. But where I'm going with this example, sorry, that was one of my riffs, tangent, was that this gym was the gym that would become ours. And 4 years ago, we made it ours. June 1st, 2019. I know, not great timing. That is absolutely a story for another time. That will be another episode. But we had the opportunity come knocking on our doorstep in 2018. The previous owner had bought the gym actually for his daughter, a young girl in her 20s or 30s now, maybe. I'm not exactly sure, but he wanted to move on. He's like, I want to sell this asset and we're going to move on to other things. And I feel like you guys would be great. You've talked about wanting a gym, and Matt and I, let's also point out that Matt and I had, again, we love to talk about dreams and plans. We had set this goal that within our sort of 5-year plan, we would love to have a gym or a studio. I've never been a yoga certified individual, so it would never have been a yoga studio, but maybe more of a group fitness, or at the time I was really into F45, maybe we'd go for the F45 franchise model. We would have these conversations, but let's also regroup that it was a 5-year plan, not an imminent plan. So here we are having this conversation with the previous owner in 2018 about how he would totally sell us his gym. I'm like, okay, whoa, this is a huge, huge investment, but really big opportunity. And that is not lost on us. So we took it away. I'm like, if you don't mind, we'll obviously talk about this really big decision offline at home, weigh the pros and cons, look at the investment and what that looks like. And we had a ton of ideas of how this gym was good. It was a nice gym. It was clean, but there was no vibe. There was no community, no culture. There was definitely opportunity for new equipment to be added. And we also knew we wanted to rebrand and have a super fresh start and have something that was absolutely ours. And there will for sure be episodes that Matt and I are excited to do together when we really talk about the journey that Benchmark Fitness has had, because it's been a turbulent one. But that is not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about the opportunity that here we are talking about how in 5 years, we would love to open a gym or a studio. And by no means did we know how to do that, but that's what Google and podcasts and books are for, and your network and leadership. But then this opportunity came knocking, and we did our due diligence within that year of 2018 and decided in May 2019 that, let's do this. LFG, let's go. This is so exciting. And who would have thought that this opportunity would just come knocking on our doorstep for the gym that we're already at, that we're super comfortable with, we can walk to, it's in our community, we can see the potential. Let's dive in. Let's go. So that is probably one of the biggest personal stories that I have about opportunity knocking, and I could talk about it for a long time, but I am excited to share a few more. So in this last year, when Matt and I were looking to make some nice investments in our space, we really, as I said, it's been a turbulent 4 years, but this year we wanted to invest more into our space and into our community. But we also were looking at maybe we would get into some different rooms together. That I've really loved personal development for many, many years for me personally. And it's been more of a solo journey, and Matt's been a bit newer to the personal development space. And we were thinking about this roundtable that Chris Harder was doing. And I would hear him talk about it all the time on his podcast. And it sounded so cool. It sounded just so unique that it was this sort of more small dose mastermind. It was 2 days, but really transformative, because you have this room full of 14 individuals pouring into you and your business. And you're going to take these actionable takeaways from what you've learned and what these incredible entrepreneurs have poured into you. And I would get so excited hearing him talk about it on his podcast. But just felt also, they're like, but we did want to, we wanted to put turf in the gym, and we wanted to get some new equipment. So maybe this isn't the year that we invest in this, or maybe not at this scale. Maybe we start with like a 1-day local event versus traveling. And Matt and I did invest actually in February. We wanted to go to LA and tour some really awesome gyms and recovery centers to do R&D and get inspired of things that we can learn and bring back to our community here, and how we can make Benchmark better. And I do think that's what makes really incredible entrepreneurs and business owners, is always stretching yourself into different rooms and experiences. And I say investments in terms of more, where can you invest to have takeaways and learn things to bring back to your people, to your customers, your community. And this was something that we were really passionate about doing in February. We went to LA, and this was absolutely our focus. We sort of joked how we had the healthiest 36 hours between the green juice and the recovery and the workouts and the recovery again. And we're sitting at Alfred's Coffee on Melrose. Alfred's Coffee on Melrose. And we're chatting. We're like, this Chris Harder thing sounds so great. And I totally had, said, I think it was roundtable was the word that you texted to his text list. And then I got this DM from Chris Harder about his roundtable, and showed Matt. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this. Like, we totally need to do this. Like, now he's talking to me personally and answering any questions that we have. And there you go. It was just like this little nudge, or this little knock, that this engagement from him personally to, was clearly on my mind. It was on our hearts of what we wanted to do. And then to have this come in, this little knock of opportunity. And we looked at each other with our Americanos, getting ready to go to Royal Personal Training in LA for this awesome workout. Our energy's already hyped. Like, we're already feeling good. And then we looked at each other like, let's do it. Let's do it. Send me the link, Chris. Send me the link, and we're going to make the investment now. And we did. And we jumped. And what I said, it wasn't maybe for sure going to be the time that we did make that investment and that choice. But we also knew that we're really investing in this human. Like, we've consumed this guy for years between Chris's content and his podcast. He always contributes just incredible value. And we were so excited to invest in him in a different way and get into this room. And oh my gosh, you guys, I can't tell you the value that we got out of that experience. I love talking about the roundtable. It was so amazing that we actually went back a second time a few months later. And that kind of leads me into one of my next opportunities, which is this podcast. I thought about having a podcast probably about a year ago. And good old imposter syndrome, she came knocking. And I totally talked myself out of it, that I felt like I wasn't going to have enough time, or who's going to want to listen to me? Who will come on as guests? Well, how do you effectively interview people on podcasts? So I had all this sort of imposter syndrome, and I immediately squashed the idea of having a podcast. And then in that roundtable, don't you love how all these little examples just mesh together? So anyways, digress. In that roundtable, in round one, the OG round one of Chris's roundtable, I met my friend Christina. And she's actually already we did our collaborative episode a few episodes back. So make sure you give that a listen. She's an awesome human. I meet Christina and she immediately tells me, like, you need a podcast. And I was like, girl, I have been down this road and I don't think a podcast is for me. And so we kind of park it. That was roundtable part one. And she also comes back for another roundtable. So where we all meet again in Arizona in June for our second roundtable experience. And guess what? Christina was, again, very passionate. You need a podcast. And then I was more open to it. I was like, okay, this opportunity is feeling a bit more aligned now. And I have the tools. I have Christina and her team that helps me produce this, because I think that was also one of the things that I was really afraid of. I was like, I don't know how to produce a podcast and upload an episode and show notes and links and the jingle music that I was so excited for, the podcast that I didn't even have yet. But I had this person, this connection that I met from this opportunity that came knocking in February to get me into the room in March and back in the room in June. And here we are today. And I'm so excited. And it is very, very cool how these opportunities can come knocking and they can snowball into another opportunity. And, this podcast, this could snowball into something else. I mean, it's not right now, but you never know. I think when you are open to it and you have an open heart and you're just energetically aligned, that these opportunities can just come to you and you can get these downloads from the universe, and the universe is here to support you and cheer you on, a circle that'll cheer you on. It is so exciting to see what can come from you. And the last example I'll share, it's actually for Matt. And this is what really, kind of going back to the beginning, this is what inspired me to talk about this, is Matt had this opportunity that came knocking, thanks to a really special friend, to go on this really unique guys trip in Maine. And it's a beautifully curated guys trip, guys only, obviously, and very small. I think it's a dozen guys. And it is all about adventure and connection and thought-provoking conversations. And what a cool opportunity. I remember coming home, I think I was out for a dog walk, and I came inside and Matt's holding his phone and telling me about this opportunity. And I feel like I'm seeing this, like, a dose of uncertainty. I'm like, babe, what an opportunity. Why wouldn't you? You go. I got the house, the dogs, the gym, go. I've also been doing a lot of solo travel over the last year. So my gosh, you deserve this. Go have fun. And it was a trip that he decided to do a road trip on. Kind of looked at the options for flights, and the timing between a connection flight and driving were sort of the same. And Maine is actually a very special place for Matt. He spent a lot of time there growing up with his family, and he was so excited to go back and to go into Maine in the fall and what the itinerary had in store. It just sounded like the coolest experience, and I was so excited for him. I just felt this warmth in my heart and my soul. Oh my God, you've never done anything like this before. This is so neat. This is so exciting. Go. And so the morning that he left, it was really early because he did decide to drive, and it was about an 11 or 12 hour drive. And he got in his car all loaded, nice bag of snacks. He had all of his podcasts loaded, ready to go, and an audiobook. And I watched him pull out of the driveway at 5:30 a.m. and head down our street. And I had like this little choked up throat. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so emotional. Like, this is just such a really neat experience for him. And I'm so excited. And this opportunity wouldn't have come knocking if it wasn't for this friend bringing this his way, that also snowballed from other opportunities knocking. And this kind of ties a bow on what I was talking about. Oh my God, I feel like I'm like looking at myself in my camera that I have tears in my eyes. That it's just an opportunity that snowballed from another opportunity. So tying a bow on that is listen to those opportunities when they come knocking. And you never know what's around the corner and what's after the next corner or maybe behind a door. And I made a few notes. Again, now I've started making notes actually for my podcast. I don't know if you guys do that, if you're podcasters. But what if there's an opportunity coming your way to get in the room to a networking event? Maybe you're not a networking event kind of guy or girl, but maybe your friend is. And they say, oh my gosh, Allie, you have to come to this event with me. It's going to be so amazing. And perhaps your first reaction is a hard no. That is not your vibe. Now, obviously, if it is a super hard, like full body no, then probably trust that intuition. But if your immediate reaction is no, but you're potentially open to it, what's the harm in saying yes? Because who knows what opportunity could come out of that going to that networking event. And maybe there's a ticket price. Maybe your friend has a free ticket. Maybe it's a complimentary event. Who knows? But you never know what is ahead from that event. That's even, you could go back to dating. My mom used to say that to me when I was in my single years that, a guy would ask me out and I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. But she would tell me that you never know. You never know how that date could go. And what's the harm in one date? If the guy seems nice, obviously, trust your gut, trust your intuition. But you never know what could transpire from that date. Or perhaps you are looking for a job and you have this really cool job offer come your way, or a promotion or an advancement in your role. That where could that lead to? And after that, where could that lead to? I feel like life has these series of opportunities, and we are talking about opportunities coming to knock on your door, that what could be on the other side? And trusting that gut and being very aligned with your intuition and how things feel, but you never know. And I get so excited talking about this, especially maybe if someone is sharing an opportunity with me, that, my gosh, there could be something so magical that could come about this. And you really never know. And I feel like I'm having this little reflection as I'm talking about this with you guys, that we have had some awesome opportunities come our way because of another opportunity, and really experiencing that snowball effect. Maybe we could coin that the opportunity snowball effect, and all the good and excitement and the magic that could come from that, and the people, because these opportunities could be full of really awesome, high vibe, great new people to have in your circle and in your network. So we're going to leave it there. I'm so grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have an opportunity that has maybe just come knocking on your door, maybe it's sitting on your doorstep waving hello, I encourage you to explore that and see what could transpire for you. And I'm going to channel all my good energy and high vibes and positivity, and I'm going to share that with you, that I hope and I wish for you that those opportunities are just full of some really exceptional moments and adventure and magic and growth. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you so much love and gratitude for listening and sharing. If you have a few minutes, I would love if you could just pop onto wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a 5-star review and some love. This is a growing podcast. I am really, really, really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun. So thank you for being here. Mwah. Until next time. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took 30 seconds and shared this on social media, send it to a friend, or leave a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I am so grateful to have you part of mine.